Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey, sunny side up listeners, onlookers, just general interested listeners of the pod, of Luke, of, I don't know, myself, people hoping Luke Russell is coming back on. Sorry to disappoint, it's just us two today. How are you, Luke? Doing well?
Yeah, not too bad licking my wounds, but here we are for another ep. How about you, mate?
Um, these wounds are just forming on top of old wounds at the moment. Pretty hard to lick your wounds when just picking up other ones all over the shop. So it's a harsh reality being a Suns fan. I don't think the media is giving us enough credit. I think if other teams like maybe Collingwood or Richmond or something were going through this, they go, "Oh, stick with them." Like Richmond fans and stuff, they'll whatever find their way. But not sure the media is quite caught on that the Suns have fans that are going at it a bit tough at the moment.
Yeah, we have the
Um,
punching bag, and like when we won our first three, I didn't see nearly as much media as there has been the last two days.
yeah, it's pretty tough, and with it's sort of giving a bit of early 2000, mid 2000s, 2010s, late 2010s vibes at the moment with everyone leaving. We've talked about it before in the pod, the big Took Miller moment where he told Stephen May and Tom Lynch where they could go and what they could do once they got there, sort of thing, if they weren't going to buy into the club. And it's sort of shaping up to have maybe we need another one of those moments, and maybe we just need to do a dimmer and just tell them they're not going. Where do you see
Well,
this the whole thing unfolding?
yeah, I guess it's either buy in or ship out. Yeah, it's looming as a potential mini reset. From all the reports, who knows? Tim has been saying all year that it's one step backwards, two steps forward, but it feels like a lot more steps back at the moment. Yeah, you really don't know what to make of it until the end of the trade period, and it's alarm bells at the moment. We're still in the hunt. We still have a positive win loss record, which is more to say than most of the other teams. So, um, yeah, glass half full at the moment, but that's slowly slipping away.
Yeah, it seems a bit like we've had that glass out on the shelf for a while, and it's unfortunately milk, and it's not aging well. But I'm sure in 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks' time, when we check back in on our record, we'll have something to say as well. Hopefully, something positive if we can pull
Always
something
got
out.
something to say.
Yeah, just got to probably pull something out of somewhere very dark in the next month or so of footy. We've got a pretty tough run with Hawthorn, Freo, Collingwood, Adelaide, and the Dogs. And then I think Melbourne to come after that at home. And then Saints and Carlton as well for the rest of the season. You said you saw a predictor today. How many do you think we have to win to make the 10 or the 8?
It said 10 wins. So that's going, hoping other results fall our way as well. And we don't want to be getting to the final round like last year and having to rely on a win against bloody St Kilda in Marvel. But it said we could make the 10 with 10 wins, 13 losses. So that would be best case scenario.
Best, best case, we're going at 10 and 13 after starting like a house on fire the first 3 rounds of the year. Um, I don't know how I suppose I'll just pose the question. How did you feel after probably the first 3 rounds? Were you sold on us as a legitimate contender, or were you like myself and just thought, well, we've done this so many times before, the first 2 or 3 rounds, knocked off a half full Geelong team and then Richmond and West Coast. Um, how did you feel after those first 3 rounds, and has that changed or stayed pretty much the same now?
I think any Suns fan would relate to this is that you just never feel safe. You never feel safe with a 50-point lead. You never feel safe early in the season. And even the preseason, I was worried like we got flogged by the Saints and comfortably beaten by the Lions. And just, it hadn't looked like we'd really turned a corner or grown from last year. And yeah, there were early warning signs like losing the clearances against Geelong, losing clearance against West Coast, losing clearances against Richmond, and then the group just um, never got it on track. Basically, pardon the pun, but yeah, never confident as a Suns fan, and still not until the final siren and or until the end of the season.
Yeah, it's hard to look back now and think we knocked off Freo in a final. That's what is it, 9 months ago. With probably a well, on paper, a worse list than we have now. Um, I'd almost say this is very much a niche Suns fan perspective, but I think we're missing Jai Farah at the moment. I think it's genuinely one of the more underrated injuries of the
Mm,
season. He's gone down with an ankle. We saw him at a cafe last weekend outside the club, and he looked pretty healthy. I think just wheel him out there. Um,
he was
we could
tenacious.
definitely use we needed someone like him. And Bo Adenshaw had a post on our socials today. He's literally an 18-year-old. I mean, if we're clutching at that kind of straw, we probably have to have a look in the mirror at the club and see what's really going on. But we're just not getting enough out of these players like Humphrey and Ben Long at the moment. We joked a little while ago that he was just getting back from holidays. He might not have come back after Darwin. He might still be up there if we can have a look for him up there and get him a flight home for this week's game. It'd be nice, but we are just missing that. Our transition isn't too bad. It's just locking it inside 50. It seems like if Ben King isn't marking it and kicking a goal, it's going back down the other end at the moment. So how do you sort of think we navigate this next little bit and get that forward mix right?
Oh, it's the greatest question on earth, isn't it? I think.
It is. It's the $1 million question. I mean, if we find an answer, Dimmer's going to be knocking on our door going,
Oh,
would you like a
absolutely.
job, boys?
I mean, you think they haven't been racking their brains for 14 weeks now on what it is, but it's just got to start with the midfield. And if this midfield hasn't been working it for 14 weeks, well, fuck it. Throw Lombard in there like they did on the weekend. Throw Humphrey in there and make him do something. Throw Goulburn in there. I just want to see something.
Yeah, give us anything. I mean, even if we have to, I don't know, throw someone to half back like Noah Anderson, put Dan Rioli on a wing or a half forward flank. He played there at Richmond, so he knows how to do it. Can kick goals. He's kicked goal of the year, so um, I mean, it can't hurt. Our rebound 50 numbers are good enough as it is, and Noah Anderson won't hurt that. And if we can get those players like Lombard, Goulburn, um, those household names in the middle, we might be able to get ourselves off the canvas as the worst contest clearance differential team in the competition at the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think we're lacking polish out of the back line. Our back line's been our strongest line all year, and the problem is that the mids aren't doing their job, and the back line are just overworked. So putting an Anderson back, and I've said this for years, put Rioli forward because he's just got the flair and the skill that we lack in that forward line.
yeah, even like a him and Closey on the wings, even if we have to, like they both got that ability to push forward, but that will and hunt to tackle and sort of take the game on. You don't want to have them too far up the ground or down the ground, if that makes sense, towards the forward line, because it can sort of not get to them at stages. And they're probably not going to win a one-on-one like a Damriola. He win it once it gets to the ground, which we need. But if we can get it delivering inside, it was sort of like that Jack Lacosha's conundrum we had a couple of years ago, where you leave him too deep, he probably gets lost and doesn't impact games at all. You get him too high, he's not kicking it inside 50, and he's probably not good enough off half back. But Damriel is not that player, but it's just getting that mix right to where they can impact the game the most. We've seen it a fair bit this week in the media. I know Kane and Kingy on their big Fireball show have said um, Humphrey, what's the big deal about him leaving? I mean, with his current form, how do you what do you think his best impact is as a player at our footy club? And how can we probably, I don't know, milk the best out of him before he inevitably leaves the club at the end of this year or next?
Yeah, I think currently he just needs to be a full time mid. It's the easiest way to get your hands on the pill, get in the contest, get body on, and he'll have the most impact there. I mean, he's been very average in front of goals this year. He's down on confidence. We saw him almost fall over himself in the forward line Friday night. So
Yeah.
just get him in the gut stimmer. Otherwise, back to the twos, mate.
Yeah. I think I heard someone might have been, it was definitely on SEN. It was around the comfortability for spots at the moment at the club. We've had a fair few players leave over the off season that were probably that fringe or that hard nosed kind of player that always seems to be knocking on the door. We haven't necessarily had that this year. And Dimmer's sort of stuck with the players he likes, like Stuart you probably used to do. Back in the day, he used to just pick his favourites and they'd play every week, and we got too comfortable. And then Ned Moyle finally got to go this year, but are the boys a bit too comfortable in the ones? And where's that mix where we can sort of get a few back to the twos for some form without them losing confidence entirely? Because I feel like Bailey Humphrey might be that kind of person that just gets too dejected playing twos and just can't be bothered, and then that just decreases his trade value if it comes to that.
Yeah, we just got to make a stand though. Like if we don't drop Humphrey, like who's one player that you would drop that would have an impact to the rest of the playing group?
Jeez. There's probably they're probably all equally underperforming.
Mm,
I mean, except for the back line, but um, it's a good question. I love that Closey's getting a game,
yeah,
to be honest. He's one. I mean, a lot of injuries lately have sort of probably parked that idea of dropping people for the time being, because most of the people that have come up would have been the ones to swap out anyway. I don't probably have one in mind. Do we somehow get Jake Rogers in for a bit of difference in the middle? I'm not too sure.
it is hammy on
He could.
Friday.
Oh my days!
Yeah, we're having a horrible luck of it. I think Witsy was like the big call last week, so that was good to see. But even then, like clearly the playing group isn't really affected by these droppings.
It did affect him though. I think he had 62 hitouts on the weekend,
Mm.
which is probably about his season tally in the ones. He put a bit of a show on, like our boy Sam Closey last week, who had 40 and maybe a couple of snaggies. But yeah, I don't know. I saw this thing again today. I've done a lot of surfing on socials. If you could have one former member of your club in your current team, who would you have? So if you could pick a former son other than Gary Ablett Jr. to come in and have a little spell in our ones team, who do you think jumps to mind?
It's a great question.
Do we bring Holman in for a little forward pocket pressure mode sort of job, and maybe a Bo Adensall just for just something for the next couple of weeks? Games we're probably not going to win anyway. We may as well try to just get a spark somewhere.
Yeah, and it's the question of do you go the kids route and rebuild for next year, or do you really double down and go we need a Holman, we need a Jepson, which is that was the talk about selecting Jepson on Friday, was that he's a big more mature body who will actually control the game a bit more. So I mean the first question is who would I have as a former son? Isaac Rankin, no doubt. He would just light it up. But yeah, lots of questions, not many answers so far.
No. Is Jamara getting a game this week? Do you think he sort of shows that bit of grunt and chase? I mean, if we can free up Jed as well, he might do the same. Do we push King deep and have sort of Jamara and Jed kind of patrol the footy and Ben just does what he does and has 4 disposals for 4 goals? Do we try and get that happening, or um,
Yeah,
how do you see it playing out?
I think we have to. I selfishly just want him to get his games contract trigger so we can see him for another year. But yeah, I think we have to see Jamara, and I don't know who you drop for that, but we need him inside.
Is it time for a DP debut? Do we have to free DP, as our man says?
Potentially, but there's not a spot for him unless he's playing forward, which he has been in the VFL. So could happen.
Yeah, I think something that's gone probably a bit underlooked or underappreciated over the past week, because of the fallout I mean around the club, has probably been the game of Jai Murray on the weekend. He had 19 disposals in game two against a Geelong midfield that is pretty stacked. He had the 79 fantasy points for those playing along at home, 7 marks, 3 tackles, which is, probably up there with the best on our list for in terms of tackles, because we don't tend to stick too many. And he had 70% of his ball in the defensive half, which means he's probably one of the only ones on our list willing to get back and help. He had the 5 turnovers but 5 intercepts, so they kind of weigh each other out. He's sort of one that's coming along, and he could be potentially that sort of hope piece that we need going into the back half of the season. We just need to find a couple more of those and get a bit more out of the senior blokes. Or how do you see it turning at the team?
Yeah, I think he looked really good, Jai. Every time he got the ball, I thought it was Closey. So I thought Closey had it on a string. But yeah, both of them were really composed. And geez, we needed that version of Jai last week. But happy he's come around.
Yeah, and our our captain Noah Anderson finally had a half decent game. He had the 29 disposals. I was going to round up for him, but 3 marks, 11 tackles. So he's probably one that's getting the message at the moment, from probably the coaching group and the fans and the media, that we're probably not tough enough at the moment. Probably not. We're probably relying too much on others. Matt Rowell was all right, but he didn't really impact the game as much as he has in the past. He used to be that sort of player that had, 23, 24 disposals, maybe a goal and 10 tackles, whereas he's probably one of the best games of the season. He's had 26, a goal and 5 tackles with pretty minimal impact. Noah Anderson won at 58 percent disposal efficiency, but I mean, is it good enough to see some fight out of these guys, or are they meant to be genuine superstars and we expect that sort of thing every week?
It's a start to see some fight. I mean, we haven't seen it for a few weeks. Yeah, I'm happy to see Noah tried his ass off all night and probably his highest tackle count we've seen in a while from him. I think he had 9 or 10 tackles, which is putting up rally numbers. But no, it was good to see leading from the front. He can retain the captaincy for another week.
Another week. Who are you picking to take up the slack if he coughs it up?
I was talking about this to Katie the other day, and I honestly don't know, but probably Colo or Took.
For listeners, that is Luke's girlfriend. This is what they talk about in their spare time.
But
Who the Suns captain should be. Do you think we've found our best backline mix, and does Charlie Ballard sort of stay in that next year?
yeah, I hope he does because I'm a big CB10 fan. He looked very composed. I thought he wasn't the problem on the night. That's for sure. The dodgy free kicks were against all our defenders. I think you could rotate him and Adams regularly, and potentially have we got too many running half backs now instead of actually having a lockdown small defender?
Yeah, is that one where we probably go after Ridley in the off season?
Yeah, potentially. But is he an accountable defender? I don't know. I don't watch many Essendon games.
Yeah, do we need? Well, actually, come to think of it, those knocking the door down in the twos while we're on the subject, our three top fantasy scorers, which, as we all know, is general best on grounds. Do you know who they were? Our three best players in the VFL on the weekend. So Witsy was one of them.
Witsy, Sexton.
Sexton had 37 disposals, two tackles, 14 marks at 70%. So we might have missed one letting him go. He was probably that live wire at ground level we could probably use, even though he's probably mid 30s and wants to hang him up. Um, and Nick Holman had 26, nine tackles, and a mark, albeit probably playing mostly midfield, but he went at 85%. And Bo Adensall again had eight tackles, 24 disposals are behind. Um, and yeah, all the others are probably a bit too immature at the moment. And Jamara had 15 and a goal in a pretty one-sided affair. And DP also had eight tackles for those listening at home. That's our DP admirer. He'll be wondering why we haven't brought him up if I hadn't have done so.
That's right.
Um, so we've clearly got a fair bit to work out going into the back half of the season. But the game on the weekend, Ben King had a very uncharacteristic smother up the ground. He was up on the wing and had a smother. He ruined his ratio a little bit. He had 10 disposals for the three goals.
Double
Did you see?
figures.
Yeah, double figures and only the three goals. He might feel a bit cheated that he passed a couple off, and
Could add
was,
five. He should have kicked
yeah,
that one
and
off
that,
Siren, and there was another, I think.
yeah, he was that sort of connector. I'll be happy to lose Ben King to sort of keep Jed. Is that sort of the general consensus among us Suns fans? Because I suppose we need that perspective out there because at the moment it's just seeming like everyone's leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Suns fans are slowly starting to warm to the idea of losing him, and any person who watches Suns games every week, unfortunately, knows that losing King could actually be one of the best moments, and it could just change our forward line um, for the positive. So either way, keep Ben King, lose Jed Walter, vice versa. We just need to keep one of them. I think the club acknowledges that keeping Ben is more of a cultural signing, and obviously he's good at what he does. But and we're not going to get more out of him. That's okay. We just need other players to step up and account for his deficiencies. And same with the midfield.
Yeah, it probably doesn't help with sort of figuring all this out while Ethan Reid is injured. It's kind of hard to figure out all the pieces when all the pieces aren't on the board. But maybe if they were to go, it might give us some currency to get some of those more Moneyball type players where those like Sam Closey's of the world, Nick Holman's in the past, Sam Collins was an SSP pick. Um,
Anthony Moore.
Geelong's been so good for so long because they've found these players, not because they've had top 10 picks. Um, I mean, Jamara could probably be one of those in years to come. He's obviously a former number one pick, but we got him for a bag of chips. So it could be those shrewd moves that uh, turn out to be the best ones in the future. Um, is it a bit of a weird thing that players like Anne Hatchard want to go to our women's team, even though they've been literally the least successful team in the AFLW? But our men's team won a final last year and everyone's leaving. Is that a little bit counterintuitive to you?
It is very strange. It's got to be the lifestyle for the women's players. Maybe we've got some pretty good coaches on board in Aaron Phillips and um,
Rory Thompson.
yeah, Roy Thompson, Sam Isles, Reece Shaw. There were once again there were warning signs at the end of last year when our GM of footy left, our longest serving head physio left, a few coaches left. So there's been warning signs basically since we lost the semi final. But
Yeah, we.
yeah, enough on the negativity. I reckon. Let's look forward.
Yes.
Let's look forward to the next uh, half of the season ahead and cast our predictions. I reckon.
Our predictions, so a little mid-season crystal ball moment. We have probably had our back line has been our sort of most consistent um, piece the last probably 10 weeks. Who do you think's probably leading the BNF at the moment for yourself?
Yeah, Smokey would be Noble. I think he's been leading the BNF probably the last month or two. Would have been Petrarca before then, but Noble or Yulin for me.
Yeah, I think Collins will probably be a strong feature, having been up there in the past and being a vice captain, I believe he is. He's always going to be in the mix, and he's always there. So I think he's going to be right up there, and he hasn't missed a game yet. So that's another thing.
Mm.
And the last 5 weeks, he's been where the ball is as well. So without being overtly negative, I think Sam Collins is going to feature pretty heavily. As will John Noble. Petrarca will get maximum votes in the games he plays and plays well. A bit like Matt Rowell of last year. He when they're up and firing, they tend to take out the 10 votes in the coaches' votes, and more often than not, the BNF coincides with the coaches' votes. So I know we'll internally value some things a bit different to the coaches' votes, but yeah, I think Sam Collins or Christian Petrarca for me. And we're also going to look forward to next week where we unveil our mid-season leader for the Nick Holman Freck Hollywood Award, which is the sunny side up best and fairest, just because he's sort of that trademark sort of player that we like watching. Are you looking forward to that one and handing over a carton of eggs at the end of the season to our Nick Holman Award winner?
Licking my lips at it. I've been studying the last couple nights on who I want to pick. I've been looking at pressure acts. I've been looking at ground ball gets, defensive acts and one on ones, and yeah, looking forward to unveiling our Hollywood award for just true son's character, um, relentless effort. Yeah.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier that we have a bit of a need to win 3 more games. Do you have any inkling of which ones we're going to win if you had to put your crystal ball in front of you and see which ones we're going to win before we leave off for this week before our game against Hawthorn on the weekend?
Yeah, I think we'll get Hawthorn. We're
Oh, bold.
we're in
That
the
is
pink.
bold.
We're taking it back to the OG pink. Um, yeah, I have a feeling we'll get that done. We'll beat the Pies because we have done the last 2 seasons at home, and we'll either beat Saints or Carlton away.
Away, I feel we've had games against both where we should have won and lost.
Mm-hmm.
The St Kilda game we've talked about at length with the Jade Gresham incident still causes me nightmares. And the Carlton game, we coughed up a 35-point lead, and I crashed my car the same day. So um, we we've had moments against both those sides. Ben Ainsworth is probably another one that we missed this year. Come to think of it, he's probably one of those players that was a bit underappreciated and probably swept under the rug when he left at the end of the year. We probably got peanuts for him, if I had to guess, but it's probably one of those ones where we get points for Dylan Patterson, Bo Adensor, John Murray, the rest,
Thank you.
as we've done. Um, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting end of the season, that is for sure. We've got plenty of games and rounds up our sleeves to try and pinch some wins. A few more little half an hour eps for our Suns fans. They've been very loyal. It's hard being the little North Pole for our Suns fans during games, after games, before games, with the ebbs and flows of our three-park Superpass roller coaster that we're on as Suns fans. How have you sort of seen our DMs the last month or so since we've become sort of pillars of the Gold Coast community, where we just lightning rods for all sorts of harassment?
Oh, DMs have been hot. So thanks, Mum and Dad, for tuning in and supporting the podcast. providing a roof over our heads to record this great pod. No, DMs have been good. We've had some really promising DMs. A couple former chief executive officers of the club, some board members, some players past and present. Actually, no present ones just yet, but promising signs. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the year to see what we can cook up.
Yeah, very much so. And we might even, if we feel so inclined, we might have a little BNF of DMs at the end of the year for our loyal listeners. Might get a couple of painted eggs delivered by maybe Lachy or somebody to our supporters' houses for our best DMs. We've had some good ones on the weekend, most notably. Suggesting Matt Rowell go to the wing was one of your favourites, I believe. But we love it. Keep them coming. This game against Hawthorn, send us some predictions, however gnarly they might be, how niche they might be. Send us VFL predictions. Anything. Box Hill's going down this weekend. Luke says Hawthorn's going down this weekend. I'm hopeful that we just have some good weather and some fun. That's
Who's
my.
your recruit that we need to target? You had that saved for me.
Oh no, this is actually the Smoky for before we go out. I'll leave us on this for something to stew over the next week. Our most important signing, other than Jed Walter, or tied with Jed Walter, is because it's a package deal. Alex Davies. I think he's going to be the one that we need to lock down,
Mm.
as well as his relatives. We've had his grandfather in the song at times in recent years in our club history, and we need to get those vibes back into the club, and get Alex Davies and his extended family in the middle of the team song and Gatorade shower all of them.
Absolutely.
Um, and
Family
perhaps get
day.
some gotchi ramen back into Alex Davies' mouth because when he was doing that kind of thing, we were winning games and the boys looked like they were having fun instead of eating sour grapes at halftime and coming out with frowns on their faces. So the more we can get those kind of vibes back in the club, the better, and the better we're going to have the back end of this season. Luke, we are going to win this weekend.
We sure are.
We're going to beat Hawthorn. Luke said it. Alex Davies' extended family will be in the Gatorade shower, and he will re-sign this week. That's our bold predictions. And
Absolutely.
Suns are going to win a wildcard game. So we're solving all the world's problems here on the Sunny Side Up podcast, and we look forward to having all of you back this weekend in our DMs, in our hearts, in our minds, and on game day. We'll see you next week.
Good night.